So first of all, I'm going to tell you about the, let me enter the third event as well, which is called the open event. Okay. And so we'll start with the events. First of all, I'm going to actually tell you about the place where actually you write the events. Let me just give this a formatting. All right. So now the first thing which I want to tell you is that when you go to the developer tab, when you hit on this developer tab and you click on this Visual Basic, you get to see so many things, right? Like for example, generally you insert the modules, you insert the user forms, and there are so many things you do. But the events are always written either on the sheets or on the this workbook. You cannot write them on the modules, guys, right? Like for example, when you write any macro, you insert the module, right? And you go in the module and you write the macro. But in the case of the events, that's not. The reason is very simple because in the this, if you click on the this workbook, double click on it, and you would see here that you have this option called workbook, and then from here these are all the events. Now they are actually all predefined events, guys, right? Whatever event you want to run, whatever condition on the condition, based on that condition you want to actually run your macro, then you can choose that. Okay. So since we are going to talk about the selection part first, so let me tell you actually, if you go ahead and you see that you have activate, add in, install, add in, uninstall, after save, so these are all the events. For example, whenever a workbook gets activated, what do you exactly want to run, which macro you want to run? Whenever you install any add-in in your workbook, then what exactly you want to do, right? So these are all those things, right? So we're going to cover them. A lot of events are there and we can cover them step by step, but right now let's go ahead and focus on the selection one. So let me just scroll it down. So let us discuss the first one, which is called the sheet change. So I'm going to click here sheet change, and you see that automatically the private sub workbook sheet change is inserted, and we have a space now between the sub and the enter, and there we can write the things. Now what happens? Let's say I'm simply going to write here that message box, and I'll write here that selection change happen. Let's say this is what I'm exactly going to write here, right? Now, of course, I mean, you don't write such things, but to explain you, because we are just going to understand the concept. I'm not really going to write a very big code. Maybe in the coming videos, we will definitely gradually, move from the basic to the intermediate level, as I always do, because if you have a look on the playlist, like the VBA user forms, the connecting Outlook with the Excel, and then connecting PowerPoint with the Excel, connecting Access with the Excel. You would see there, even in the VBA loops, Excel loops and collection loops. You talk about any subject. I have always shared. I have always started with the basic part, and then from the basic we have moved to the advanced level. And these especially I'm actually focusing on the basic part because a lot of you are actually watching my videos and you're really really very interested in now to considering the basic part, because most of the videos which I have uploaded, long time back, maybe, I mean, as you know, we have 260 videos. So the first 100 and 150 videos, they were all very actually hugely, they're very actually advanced videos. So now we have covered almost everything, and whatever is left, I'm covering. So now let's come back to the topic. This is I have put the gonna put the break code here. Let's see. I'm going to put the break code here, and now what I will do, look at this, guys. I'm going to here write something. I'm going to write here KK. The moment I write KK, you see that this macro is going to fire itself. And if I run this, you know that what will happen. Whatever the macro you have written, it is going to fire. So these things are not waiting for your button. Selection sheet change, when you write this, your workbook underscore sheet change event. This is the event I'm talking about, this one, right? It means that whenever in your sheet, any changes happens in the value in the cell, these events, this particular event is going to fire any sheet. Because why any sheet? Because you have written in this workbook. This workbook means that the entire workbook. So whatever the sheets you have there, on every sheet this is going to be applied. Let me give you the example. For example, let us insert this sheet. Now you know that this is a blank cell. So if you write here anything, obviously blank cell is going to be changed to the number. And if I press enter, you see that again this event is fired, right? So I can press F5 and there we go. Selection change event is happening. If I remove this, then user won't even be able to see, obviously, because I have, put the break code. So if I enter here, you see that this is going to be so quick. Selection change happen. And if I again go back and delete this, because the value, there was some value and you deleted it, so number is changed to 0. So obviously, you have a blank cell. And same goes for the sheet 1. In the sheet 1 also, you can write here 88 and you press enter and there we go. Selection change is going to fire, right? So this is called the selection event, which will not wait for your instructions, right? These events run themselves under whatever category you choose. They're going to, whenever that criteria is going to meet, they will fire, right? Now let's go ahead and let us discuss the another event, which is called the this basically uh, a sheet activate event. I would have actually written here activate, because change is already we have done. So activate, I'm going to talk about the activate event. Okay, so now let's go ahead and let's find it out. Where is the activate one? So let me just scroll it up. So you can see all these events here, and we're going to scroll. This is called the deactivate. So deactivate means whenever you're going to need this sheet, right? So, but I'm going to actually find out the activate, sheet activate. So let me click over here and let's write here the message box, sheet activate, sheet activated. Let's say this is what I want to do. Okay. Now let me click here. You see that the moment I selected the different sheet, this macro is going to run, and it actually ran, right? Again, I come back to the sheet 1, you know that the sheet is again activated. So any sheet when you select is going to be activated. This is what exactly we would see here. Okay. Now there is another event which I actually want to discuss. I should have written here selection event, and then we are going to discuss this open event, right? So let me just copy and paste the things, and you know that whenever I'm trying to change anything, this selection change is automatically happening, guys, right? So this is really very powerful. Okay, so now let's go ahead and let's discuss about the selection. So selection is what? Selection basically, whenever you select any cell, then what would you like to do? That is also the thing. You should be knowing it. So there is another event over here, but you would like to go to that particular sheet, right? For example, if I go to the sheet 1, let's say I want to write the code in the sheet 1. Now, if you write the code in the sheet 1, that would mean that it is only specific to the sheet 1. It cannot run on the sheet 2. Okay. For example, if I click here, you see that here you see worksheet, not workbook, unlike in this workbook. And now let's say now you're seeing that selection change. So in the selection change, I'm going to write message here, message box. Let's say hi. I'm just going to write hi. Okay. Now see what will happen. I come here, you see that the moment you select any cell, it is this macro is going to run. Okay. But if you're on the sheet 2, now sheet activated is run. We know that because we have written that code in this workbook. But here, if you select any cell, it's not gonna work. Why? Because you have written that in the sheet 1. So events can be written in the sheets also individually, and you can also run them in this workbook. If you want to apply it to the entire workbook, go ahead and choose this workbook option. But if you want to be very much specific, then you can choose that particular sheet, right? Now, in this also, we have a lot of other events. For example, I'm going to talk about this change. Have a look here, change. Now, change means what? Whenever you have a change in the value, right? So here, when I write that value is changed. Let me write this message box. Now, you see that I'm going to write here in the sheet 1, I write here something 33. I press enter and the value is changed, right? So you understand, guys? Now, what happens? So there are a lot of things happening, right? Because your selection is also changing. When you write something, you see your selection is moving. So this prompt is coming from the high because you have written here the macro called worksheet change, right? Sorry, worksheet selection change actually. Selection change means that whenever you select different cell, and worksheet change actually means that whenever you are overwriting something, or maybe you are on the blank cell but you are writing something. So this is something you need to understand. These are all the different events, and they are very useful. They are very, very powerful. But at the same time, if I'm on the sheet 2 and if I try to change something, you see this? selection change happened. Now selection change happened, but there is no prompt which is coming that value is changed. And why the selection change happen is coming, because you have written here in the code in the this workbook that on the sheet change you got to. Sheet change means actually when you're actually writing, when you're changing some value, right? So it looks a little difficult to understand, because most of the time when we read this, it occurs like the, when you're going to change the sheet, but it is not that. It says workbook underscore sheet change. So it means that in this workbook, if there is any change happens in that particular sheet, then what would you like to do? So if I write 22, then that means the blank cell is going to change to a number. And if I press enter, selection change happened, right? Because this we have written in this workbook. So this is going to work in everywhere. Even if you go in the sheet 1 and you're going to, let's say, write here a value called 20. Let me write the value called 22. What happens? The values change is also running and selection change happen is also happening. Okay. Both the things are going on. Why? Because you also, this workbook, what you have written, this particular part, this is applicable to the sheet 1 as well. But at the same time in the sheet 1, you have written this as well. Value is changed. And obviously, this is also going to be triggered, followed by this, because what happens when you change any value, obviously you press enter, and when you press enter, your cursor moves in the downward direction, and if your cursor moves in the downward direction, that means your selection is changed. So this is how the things work actually. So these are called the selection change event, and this is called the worksheet change event. Worksheet change event means that when you're actually changing the value of the cell. Selection change, worksheet selection change means that whenever you are actually simply changing the selection. For example, if I put the break, just the comment out here, let's say, and let me just put the comment here as well. We don't want to run any macro right now. Now look at this. I select this cell every time this high is coming. Why? Because of the simple reason, guys, that when you click on sheet 1, you have written here that on every selection change, which means cell change, you are actually going to run this macro. Okay. So these are the macros, and now the very important macro, there is one more macro event, I would say, not the macro, I beg your pardon, but this is kind of a macro, because they run, obviously, you write the VBA program here. There's another event which you can write in this workbook, which is called this workbook open, and you need to simply go to this workbook, and you cannot find that in the sheet 1 and the sheet 2, because sheets can't be opened, right? Workbook can get open. So I press O, and there we go. We have now workbook open. So workbook open means that whenever you open this workbook, would you like to run any macro? So let's say I just want to run this message box, good morning. Now I save this file, guys. Let me save the file, and I'm going to save the file on my desktop. I change the extension, and so we are actually going to name this file, and let me name this file event, and I would like to save this in the desktop. So go to the desktop, and actually I need to change the name here. So let's just keep it book 1 only. That's fine. All right. Now let me close the file and go back to the desktop. Let's open the book 1. That's the file, right? Now see, I'm going to open this. But when this opens, what should happen? We should have the greeting, because workbook is getting open. So you see that good morning is fired up, right? Automatically this event is going to fire because you have opened the workbook. As simple as that, right? So you can run a lot of macros here on the auto mode. Whenever the person opens this workbook, immediately compilation of data happens automatically. So a lot of things can be written here, right? So now what we let me summarize the things. We have basically covered activate, change event, and then selection event, and then open, right? Now a code can be written in this workbook as well as in the sheet, right? And when you write something in this workbook, that is going to be applicable to the entire workbook, no matter how many sheets you have, right? You have seen that. And when you write the code, the events in the specific sheet, then that is applicable, that applies to only that sheet. So I have covered the worksheet change. Worksheet change means that when you have a change in the value, and worksheet underscore selection change means that when you're simply changing the thread, you are clicking on the different cells, right? And same we actually did in this as well. So here also I have told you that if your sheet, if it gets activated, if you want to refresh any pivot, you want to create any chart, whenever that sheet gets activated, these events are very much important, very, very useful actually, right? So next time if somebody asks you what is the difference between event and the macro, you can tell them that the macro actually works whenever we want to run them, but the events work when the condition you have specified there, whenever it is going to be true, they themselves run, right? And of course, events are always run either on this workbook platform or on the Sheets platform. They are never run on the modules. The reason is simple, because in the modules, you don't have any sort of that workbook or worksheet option, and you cannot really use this declaration like you use in this workbook, right? Here you have all these events coming out. That's the difference, right? So I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you have any questions, let me know. And in the coming time, definitely we're going to upload some videos on these events. I'm going to pick up some real questions, and I'm going to help you in understanding the examples as well, with the examples as well. So if you haven't subscribed to the channel, guys, please do that, and I will be back with the another exciting stuff very soon. Thank you so much. Bye bye.